My name is Lulu. I'm a compulsive overeater. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. And I was listening to a special edition on A Vision for You, which is a website that has amazing recordings and meetings for OA. And it's called A Vision for You, A Vision, Vision, for the number 4, YOU.info. If you go there under special editions, there's all kinds of wonderful things, all named according to their topic, whatever. If you need to understand more about higher power or the addiction cycle or about doing a 4-step inventory, you can pretty much zero in on what you would need. And so I was listening to one of them one day, and the man that was delivering the special edition, he was talking about the cycle of addiction, and he said it's all in Bill's story in the big book. You can see, when you read Bill's story, you can see this cycle of addiction probably 4 or 5 times in that story, and this is basically the cycle of an addict. And so the guy in the recording, he said, now just get a piece of paper and draw a circle, and then at 12 o'clock write this. And so he actually explained it all out. So I was doing it as he was saying it, and I visualized it. And so I just put it on a document just to have it, because it was really powerful. And it really was a powerful thing for me to hear at the beginning of my recovery. And I share this with everybody that I begin working with, and I'd like to share it with you. So, so basically right at 12 o'clock, you can see that it starts with feelings. Happy, mad, glad, sad. Mostly mad and sad. But sometimes happy, glad too. That's not usually where the cycle of addiction starts. In the middle of a celebration, it's not. You're not, but that's going to spark up your physical allergy for sure. But we're just talking about now, like kind of just that twist of the mind that makes this kind of that peculiar thing about people that are addicts, whether it's drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, sex, whatever it is. It's that, so you get these feelings, like a restless, irritable discontent. It's a feeling that starts in your head. And really just about any kind of off kind of a feeling we may feel that's not feeling good could probably come under one of these categories. And these 3 words are in the doctor's opinion. The doctor's opinion, Dr. Silkworth says, we were restless, irritable, and discontent until we at once could find relief by the next whatever, next bite, the next drink, the next whatever. Because basically we just need relief. We want relief from these feelings. I'm restless. Maybe I'm bored. Maybe I'm, I'm discontent. I'm thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, and I should be better. I should have a better job. I should would. Or you're irritated. Who isn't irritated all the time, right? When you're an active addict, and all you're thinking about is food, and you're distracted by food. I know for myself, I was either always not eating and wishing I was, or I wasn't eating, I was either eating and wishing I wasn't, or I was not eating and wishing I was. So I was either on the diet saying, can't wait for this to end, or I was in the middle of eating, wishing I could stop. So it was like, I was just, where are you content right there? Where can you ever find any contentment when you're always kind of battling those thoughts? So for an addict, the first thing that happens is you go to the memory of the food, and the disease speaks to you, the disease of addiction. I had always had trouble with the word addiction, disease, because I thought, wasn't that a little dramatic to call this a disease? But when it was broken down for me, dis-ease, not at ease. Anytime I'm not at ease, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, I guess it qualifies to call that a disease. So I found comfort in calling that a disease. I found it like palatable to call that a disease, okay? Mm-hmm. So I might feel better if I eat, right? There's the memory. I always feel better for when I eat. It usually doesn't last very long before I hate myself, but the minute you go to that memory. So I'm just going to tell you, like, what this program has done for me is that I've been abstinent for 6.5 years at this point, and right now it's July of 2020. And I've been abstinent by the grace of God every single day, 3 meals a day, weighed and measured, no compulsive eating, no compulsive food behaviors. I weigh and measure my food because I don't know when a meal begins, and I certainly don't know when it ends, even 6.5 years in. So that's why I do that. Some people in program can put moderate meals together. I don't have a moderate bone in my body. So if ever I feel restless, irritable, discontent, let's just say that even after post-step work, where I've sorted so much of my life and I've come to such a beautiful, peaceful place to live, it's just beautiful and peaceful. Just not just have an active addiction alone just makes a beautiful life. But once you have the opportunity to sort through feelings and these things in your life that you're restless, irritable, discontent about, it happens a lot less. But I'll never not be human. Okay, so I'm not like Mother Teresa. I'm not, I'm just like another bozo on the bus, right? So I get restless, irritable, discontent. So if for any moment I might think like, oh geez, wouldn't it be great to have like a bag of chips, right? Or a beer or a glass of wine. All right. The minute I can go there and think, well, that was crazy, because I know who I am. That's because I've taken a solid step one. I am a food addict. I am a compulsive overeater. I am powerless over food, and my life is unmanageable. I can't manage my food. I can't manage my thoughts. I can't manage my feelings because I go to food. That's never the solution. It never worked, but I keep going to it. It's kind of insane when you think about it. So, boom, I go right back up to the feelings, and then I deal with them with all the tools that I learned in program. I know exactly what to do, and it's called the Step 10. And when you've done the step work, you can understand that more. So that's the beauty of being post-step work. I have the feelings. If I go to the memory, I go right back to the feelings and deal with them, okay? But if I don't have these tools, what happens is eventually the memory and the idea is going to speak louder. It's going to speak a little bit louder. Then I'm going to get into the obsession, which is the big lie that like, oh, maybe just this once. Just once, that's it. And then tomorrow I'm on keto, or I'm on Weight Watchers, or whatever it is. Fill in the blank. I've done them all. You've probably done them all. And here we are. This is like the last house on the left, For me, it was. So the negotiating starts. That's the thing. Once you get into the negotiating stage, to pull back from that is practically impossible for an addict. The minute you start thinking about all the ways in which you can make this little, just a little sliver, just a little slice, just one, just this once you start saying that, to pull back from that is really hard because the lie becomes obsessive. And then you negotiate, and then you make total sense out of the idea that it's a good idea and that you'll be okay. And then you've come to the point where you've rationalized it. You've got a good, solid rationality. And then you take the first bite. You just find that relief, that comfort that comes at once by taking that first bite. And then maybe 7 seconds later, you're kind of thinking that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. But what happens is you've woken up an addiction, the physical part of the addiction. This physical, it's like a twofold problem we have here. We have a physical addiction, and we have a obsession of the mind and a just peculiar kind of thoughts about food. So now the body's responding. It wants more, even an hour later, because at this point, sometimes I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, see, I had one, right? I didn't eat the whole bag. Yeah, talk to me tomorrow. Let's see what happens the rest of the day, or in the middle of the night, or whenever, when you think you've done so well, and you just patting yourself on the back to see, I knew what I negotiated was true, and I knew, and I rationalized it, and it wasn't a rationale, it was the truth, until an hour later, a day later, a week later. For me, it's always come and bit me in the butt. Mm-hmm. And then once it starts to bite you in the butt, that's the binge. That's when you're out of control. Bill Wilson calls it a spree in his story. It's just kind of like, it's like a free-for-all. It's like a life's buffet, and it's like, and it just doesn't seem to ever, there's no being satiated, and it's always back at the store to get this because I'm going to start tomorrow. And then the next night it's like, oh, let me go get all that stuff again because I'm going to start tomorrow. And you just it's just this crazy stuff until one day you're just like, oh my God, I'm just so nuts. I can't take this. I can't stand this another minute. And then you get into the remorse. You start feeling the remorse, the regret, the guilt, and now you stop. You're just like, probably because you're sick, you've eaten yourself sick, or you've just disgusted. I know my feelings of just always disappointing myself, always making promises to myself that I break. I mean, that's really wearing on the spirit. That's really wearing on the spirit. And then I'm supposed to go through life and manage and conduct myself appropriately when when I'm like loathing myself, whether it's the way I look or whether it's just constant disappointment. Did it again. I just did it again. I can't believe I did it again. And then the resolutions and the promises start kicking in. I'll never do that again, ever, ever. Until the feelings come again, which they always do. They're always there. We always have these feelings because we're human. And what made me feel really sad after I listened to this podcast about this cycle of addiction, and I put it on paper and I looked at it and I thought, wow, I spent like most of my life in this cycle. I can recall moments in time where I have done this full-blown cycle probably 3 times in a day. Like I would be start and get right to go through this awful cycle and be right at the resolutions before noon. And then like 3 o'clock, I'm doing it all over again. And it's like, that was my life as an addict. For me personally, I have food addiction that goes way back till childhood. I have alcoholism, which was probably brewing like in my 30s, but probably by the time I said, oh, I'm an alcoholic and I need to do something about this, I was probably 50, and I didn't do anything about it for 5 years. But I knew about then, like, yeah, this is kind of looking like a problem. And I've been battling on and off cigarettes my whole life. So by the time I was 55 years old, which was at the time of this recording, it's right now July 2020, 6 years ago, I was 55 years old, and I was smoking like a chimney. I was drinking like a fish, eating like a pig. I was out of control. My feelings, my restlessness, irritability. So I was on this cycle with 3 things, but sometimes I'd always have one down so I could feel somewhat successful because I loathed myself so I was like, well, at least I'm not smoking. But like, I'm drunk and I'm like, overweight. And then I put the food down and I'll be like, oh, thank God for the cigarettes while I'm losing the weight. I mean, it's just the whack-a-mole with the addictions. And so I had this vision of myself. I had a vision of myself. I thought my 60s were right around the corner, and I thought about retirement, and I thought about just being a woman in my 60s, and I thought, I had this vision, and I was like, I am just going to be a fat, drunk, old lady with a smoker's cough. That was my vision. And I thought, oh, my dear Lord, I'm going to be in and out of doctor's offices. I'm going to be in and out of doctor's appointments. I'm not going to feel good. I'm destroying myself. And I just had that vision so clear. And I think that this cycle of addiction was really helpful in seeing that this is what needed to be broken in order for me to feel fixed. It wasn't Weight Watchers. It wasn't the next diet. It wasn't my own willpower. I had to like open my mind to a new idea. And I crawled into AA, and I did I started working with a spot, put down the booze, still smoking and eating. Oh yeah, AA meetings, smoke your brains out, donuts everywhere, right? And so I was all set there. It made giving up drinking pretty easy, but I gave up the drinking, and then I started working the steps with her. And as we were studying the doctor's opinion and Bill's story and looking at the cycle addiction, I couldn't help but see that there is no difference between this and me with my cigarettes or me with my food. Same thing. And I thought, if I go through this step work with her and I'm just not drinking, but I'm eating and smoking, I'm just like a joke. This is like a joke. I'm not going to waste her time. So it wasn't easy, I tell you, people. I put down the alcohol in December, January, March. 3 months later, I put down the cigarettes. The next month, I put down the food. So in 4 months, I put down those 3 things that consumed my life. How did I even have time to do anything else when I was doing all that? But I picked them in the right order because I'm a hardcore food addict. That was the first to come. It was the first to go. It was the one I was holding on to. And I don't find myself active in AA today, although AA was the the crutch that got me into program. When I put the food down, I finished the steps in AA, and it wasn't an AA program for me. It was an addiction program, and it solved all of my addictive. I mean, I'm not going to be on that cycle anymore. If it goes to the memory, boom, right back up. Most of the times it doesn't even go to the memory. I just say, oh, I have feelings, got to do something about it. And that's what this program has taught me. And, but I am 100% all in OA. In OA, alcohol is not on food plans. So it just, and if I wanted to really get technical, I guess I could smoke and still be abstinent in AA. But in my between me and God, my abstinence is that I stay away from all the addictive agents that are destroying me spiritually and physically and mentally. And so if you see yourself in this cycle of addiction, if it resonates with you, if you're listening to this and looking at this cycle of addiction and thinking, that's not me, well, this program is the solution for this crazy, okay? It's not like, maybe there are people that are just heavy eaters. They're not alcoholic with food. There are people that are heavy eaters, and Weight Watchers is a wonderful solution for them. You'll never hear any of the stuff at Weight Watchers. You get a food plan and you use your willpower, and also you use a group support. Some people use OA as a food plan, a diet with group support. I'm going to dieting with group support, and they don't do the work that gets them out of this, because whether I'm eating or I'm not, whether I'm practicing the addiction or not, if I'm not practicing it, I'm fighting it unless I can not even get to this. Once you start negotiating, you're probably going to hop on the cycle, So, if this, like I said, if this resonates with you, if it seems like this is you, you're like, oh my God, that's me. There is a solution. That's the really good news. There's a lot of people that say, yeah, well, it's easy for an alcoholic because alcoholics, they just don't drink, but we still have to eat 3 times a day. We have to let the monster out of the cage 3 times a day. I mean, how many times have I heard that? Well, speaking from somebody that's multi-addicted, it is absolutely, positively no different. No different. I ate alcoholically. I have alcoholic foods, and I have alcoholic food behaviors. So I identify my alcoholic foods. Typically, for most people, there's sugar and flour and alcohol sugar substitutes, like we just kind of get away from all that stuff and just get down to basic, pure nutrition, like just nutrition. It's like, that's why we're supposed to be eating. It's not like a recreation. It's not a sport, you know? And my alcoholic food behaviors, you know, eating on the run, eating standing up, volume, alcoholic volume. Okay, so that's like, so I can relate, I can translate this. I don't need an OA book to help me translate this big book into food. It's no different. If you don't eat alcoholically, then this isn't the program for you. If you feel like you're breaking promises to yourself all the time, you're on this cycle of addiction, the answers are in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's what I got to say about this cycle of addiction.